Hey guys, how you going? I'm Chris from Champion Helmets, and this is our guide to the best modular helmets of 2019. Alright, so first I'll give you guys a quick rundown of what a modular helmet is. It's a nice refresher course, or if you don't know what a modular helmet is, you'll find out. So a modular helmet is a motorcycle helmet you wear on your head when you ride a motorcycle. Pretty self-explanatory. But what's special with these is that they look like full-face helmets for the most part, but when you want to not have a full-face helmet, you can just take the chin bar and put it to the top of your head, and then you have an open-faced helmet. It's pretty cool. So what we can do is just open up all these helmets, and just like magic, we have open-faced helmets where we once had full-faced helmets. So that's the advantage of modular helmets, of course. They are modular and the chin bar can lift up. So typically, or historically, it's been the case that modular helmets kind of took the disadvantages of open-face helmets and full-face helmets and then just put them together into one crappy helmet. But, luckily that's changed over time. It used to be that a full-face helmet, a modular helmet, when it was closed, would be very leaky, very loud, and not well ventilated. But an open-faced helmet would have this thing here where it would pull back, and it was very uncomfortable and strain your neck and that kind of thing. But we have some good helmets coming into 2019, and they've gotten much better over time, I have to say. So without further ado, I give you the Champion Helmets 2019 Best Modular Helmets. So first off, we have the Shark Evo-One 2. This is no particular order. The AGV R90, the Schuberth C4 Pro, AGV Sportmodular, Shoei Neotec II, and the Roof Boxer Carbon. And I'll let you guys know that these are also all in the same size, that being an M, just so you can have a nice and equal comparison. Alright, to kick off our list today, we have the Shark Evo-One 2. So this is the cheapest helmet on our list, and it's there for a reason. It's meant to be cheap, but it's meant to be on this list because it is one of the best. It's a helmet that's really going to focus upon being good at everything for the lowest price. And that's definitely its focus, to be the lowest price, to have the best value. And there's some great features for this helmet, and it really fits in nicely among some of the higher, more expensive helmets. So if you've ever worn a really cheap, like $100, $150 modular helmet, you'll probably have noticed that they leak in every possible aspect, and that they maybe don't open and close properly. So essentially what you get is what you pay for. And modular helmets do take a little bit of engineering to make them good. So I think the Shark is really delivered with probably the lowest cost you can get for a decent modular helmet. Now, to get that way, they have made a few compromises. First one is that the shell is made of a polycarbonate, not a advanced manufacturing material technique like with the Neotec II or something like that. But that's not to say it's bad. It still will protect you. It holds up well. It just technically isn't as good. Now, what's cool about this helmet though is that the chin bar retracts all the way to the back. You don't see that with many modular helmets. And this is great for when we are not riding at high speeds with the chin bar up, because Shark says that we technically aren't allowed to do that, so we don't. But if we were, it would be great for aerodynamics, because it acts like a spoiler in this case with a little bit of drag, but overall good, and it's much better than sitting in this position. It's also great for anyone who wears glasses. It's got a sun visor. The ventilation and the environmental sealing, sound reduction, all of that kind of stuff is pretty good. Not as good as something more expensive though, and that's where the you get what you pay for comes into it. It's going to give you a taste of the luxuries, and that's what they are. They are luxuries of the more expensive helmets. But dollar for dollar, it's going to be a clear winner in every case, except for maybe with the HJC R90. The Shark Evo-One 2 is just a great all-rounder with a focus upon value. And It comes in at around $380, US dollars, by the way. So everything is going to be in US dollars just so that we can get a nice consistent baseline. And that price is based upon the plain white color neutral helmet without graphics. And it's going to be that way so we can also get a nice baseline. It's also the recommended retail price, not necessarily our price, typically a little bit lower. So yeah, that's how we're comparing all these different helmets, because it takes out the differences caused by sales and price drops and all that kind of thing. This is the HJC R490. This helmet is better than the Shark Evo-One II in pretty much every single way, including price. Well, not really better, it's more expensive. So it's justified, really. Yeah, it's a more value-oriented helmet, a little bit cheaper than the top-of-the-line ones, but it's still, you know, it's you know, punching above its weight, really. That's a good way to describe it, I think. It's a very strong helmet in terms of comfort, ventilation, the liner, the visor, safety, noise reduction, pretty much everything. It's a good helmet, but it's just not as good as the more expensive ones, although you don't pay as much as the more expensive ones, and that is very important. So the HJC R490 is, in my opinion, like the little sibling to the Neotec II, just because it's so close in a lot of different ways. And between these two helmets, you do get better quality with this one, just a little bit overall, but on this one, the chin bar goes all the way back. On the R490, it just goes to there. So that also depends on what you want from a helmet. And coming in at $450 US dollars, this is a great, not a great priced helmet, but it's a very good, very well priced helmet that's going to really compete well with some of the more expensive ones. So coming in first place for the 2019 Fashion Helmet Choice Awards, we have the Roof Boxer Carbon. It's a pretty helmet, let's be honest, but what else does it have going for it? Well, it is pretty. Now, earlier in the review that we made for this helmet, I did bash it a little bit. You know, to be honest, I still do bash it a little bit, just because it's not my kind of helmet. But it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people really like the Roof Boxer Carbon. I can understand that. It's got a bit of a cult following, if I'm honest, of people who just really like that Roof brand and the Roof design. And part of that design is the fact that it retracts all the way back with a chin bar. And you can legally ride with the chin bar all the way up like this. Just pop down your visor, boom. And when the chin bar is up, it does look pretty cool. The Evo-One II does the same thing, but to be honest, the Evo-One II kind of looks like your dad's helmet when it has the chin bar all the way back. It's practical, it's efficient, but it doesn't have that flair to it, and that's what this has. It has something extra, you know, it's just got that cool look, and it's impressive. And that's, I think, what a lot of people like about this helmet. And in terms of quality, it's not going to be anywhere near as much as as good as the Shoei Neotec II or something like that. And it's going to be not as good as the Shark Evo-One II, despite being more expensive. But that's not to say that there is no quality, there's no positive aspects. The visor is quite good. It doesn't need a pin lock, it's been treated already, so it shouldn't fog up. And the shell is made out of carbon, so it's lightweight and it is quite strong. The Shark Evo-One II was polycarbonate. And it definitely has some of those higher end features. It's just not as good because the focus hasn't been put there. I would classify this as kind of like leaning towards the open face helmet rather than the full face, which is something like the Neotec II, the Sportmodular, C4 Pro. They really try and push to having a full face helmet that can open at the front, whereas this helmet is an open helmet that can close at the front. So it's got that different kind of focus, and in that aspect, this is a top of the field, especially if you categorize it in that way. Now, the Roof Boxer Carbon is not cheap. It's in at 500 euros, putting it, you know, pretty close to the Shoei Neotec II, despite not having a lot of that quality. But for a lot of people, the price is going to come down to how they like it, how they feel riding. Because, I mean, it's a cool hobby riding. You don't want to be You don't want to look like your dad on your bike, just like cruising around town. You want to look great. So the roof boxer carbon has you covered there. It's up to you. Do you think it's worth it in terms of value? Do you think it's not worth it? At the very least, for what it does that great, and that's why it's on our list. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you the Shoei Neotec II. So the Neotec II stole the crown of best modular helmet from Schuberth by overtaking the C4 in plenty of different ways, one of them being quietness. It is, I think, the most quiet helmet really around in the overall best of the best modular helmets, and it's in that way kind of focused a lot upon being like a full face helmet rather than an open face like the roof boxer. And to be so quiet, Shoei has really improved on a few different things. Like they really beefed up the ventilation, the general isolation, and the liner and that kind of thing, just to really make it, you know, over the top in terms of being great. So I really like the Shoei Neotec II. A lot of people do. For me and a lot of others, I'm sure it sits like up there as the thing that we look forward to. Like one day I'll have a Neotec II. One day. It's that kind of helmet. And there is a reason that I compare pretty much every other helmet on this list to the Neotec II. In terms of quality, I personally think it's unbeaten. But the next contender on this list does come very close and may be a very good challenge for it. Just a spoiler for later. So the Shoei Neotec II improved on the original Neotec in those aspects I mentioned, like ventilation, isolation, quietness, all that kind of stuff. But it's come at a cost because the helmet weighs 1,850 grams. It's almost 2 kilos, which is quite a lot. And for some people, that can make a big difference and it can really turn them off of the helmet. Now, a modular helmet is going to be heavier than any other kind of helmet, really. But the Neotec II does sit up there in terms of weight. And in terms of price, it also sits up there as well at $565 US. Not the cheapest, and the value isn't as strong as with a helmet like the Evo-One 2, but for what you get, that being, in my opinion, the best modular helmet, you do have to pay for it, and it's, to be honest, not a bad price for this kind of helmet. So Schuberth kind of missed the mark with the original C4 modular helmet, but they've come back very strong with the C4 Pro. What they've done is they've taken the aspects of the original C4 which didn't work, weren't that great, then improved upon them. And they've kept a lot of the original C4 as it was. As you can tell, it looks quite similar to the last C4, this being the C4 Pro, but it is definitely a much better helmet because of the changes they made. Some of the changes are like the pinlock visor is now, sorry, the pinlock lens is now good. It's going to work. And the ventilation has been reworked, so it's not going to be fragile and it's going to be stronger and just generally better. The shell size is a little bit different. It's now like an oval shape. And the interior liner has been changed. It's a different material entirely, so it'll be interesting to see how that holds up over time. Now the price also dropped $50 US, give or take. So it now sits at $566 US, just $1 more expensive than the Shoei Neotec II. Are they trying to compete with the Neotec II? You tell me. So one of the big luxury features of the C4 and the C4 Pro is that it's pre-installed almost with the center comm system. You do have to buy it separately, but all you have to do is plug it into these 2 ports here, close it up again, turn it on, and you're ready. So that's just like a luxury that you get with something like the C4 Pro. Generally, the C4 Pro is going to lean more towards the full face kind of helmet category rather than the Boxer here, which is more open faced. So just being super quiet and aerodynamic and all that, it's going to really lock you out of the environment. It's going to keep you in your little bubble as you ride. And when you pull up to a set of traffic lights, you can pop your helmet up, the chin bar up. You can, when you're walking to your bike, maybe you're just about to get on, you just gotten off. In that case, that's what the chin bar is good for, really. But if you ride with it up, I don't think you're going to have a very good time. It's going to be Actually, I don't know if it's legal in a lot of places, but it's going to be pulling on your head as well, because it's going to be stuck in this position and it's going to drag a lot. But that is how it goes with a lot of modular helmets, except for like these two here. So the Schuberth C4 Pro is really a helmet that's going to compete with the Neotec II to be the best, in my opinion. It's not the most expensive, Sport Modular is right there, but it is, in my opinion, a competition between these two for the best modular helmets of 2019. Now, last but not least is the AGV Sportmodular, and it is definitely not least in terms of pricing. So this is the most expensive on our list of 2019's best modular helmets, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So what AGV has done is they've taken some aspects of their other helmets, like the Pista GPR, and it has the same kind of shell as that helmet, and they've really pushed it into a modular helmet to call it the Sport Modular. Now, for a modular helmet, it is quite good. It's quite comfortable. Shin bar opens up nicely, closes nicely, sits up there. You know, it's going to do a lot of things pretty similar to the C4 Pro and the Neotec II, but in my opinion, they win out based on the price. So I think that this sits comfortably in the third position, if money is not an option, or not a problem, sorry, for this list. Now, the ventilation is good, the aerodynamics are great, the visor is good, gives you a nice field of vision. You can lift it up, you can lock it in. It's a few good things about this helmet. Now, it does have a sleek design as well, another little vent fin kind of thing. It, like I said before, it has the same shell as the Pista GPR, and that's because it's made out of carbon and it's super light, and it's 1300 gram, I think, around that mark. So it's about 600 or something like that grams less than the Neotec II and the C4 Pro. So it's focused more upon being a lightweight modular helmet, the top of the line modular helmet, than a just generally most comfortable and quiet and environmental proof top of the line modular helmet. Now it does weigh, it does cost $660 US, which is quite a lot. Now for this kind of helmet, it can be justified because it has those really expensive materials and it is well built and that kind of thing. But like, I don't know if I want to pay that much for a helmet. Like the Neotec II and the C4 Pro I think are quite expensive, and the Sport Modular is just really expensive. Like for me, the weight doesn't really matter that much. Sure, these weigh a little bit more, a bit more, but at the end of the day, it's only a few hundred grams on your head, and if you ride fast enough, you know, you should get a bit of lift and all that kind of thing on a lot of these helmets. But yeah, it comes down to who you are and how you ride and your style. That's all. These helmets really occupy different zones, especially like the Boxer, as I've mentioned multiple times. But yeah, so the AGV Sport Modular is a good helmet, a light helmet, but I think a little bit expensive. These helmets here, the Shoei Neotec II, the AGV Sport Modular, and the Schuberth C4 Pro, are the most expensive on our list. And that's for a reason. They're top quality helmets, top of the line, you know, the best of the best. But in some regards they're not, because they are quite expensive. Now if you're someone who doesn't ride much, I don't know if this is the best helmet for you. If you ride every day to work and you need something that's going to last you through every weather condition for a full year, all year round, hopefully more than 1 year, then sure, get one of these helmets. You'll get a lot of good value out of them, and they should last you very well. But if you just cruise around on the weekend or whatever, then you're probably better off getting a Shark Evo-One 2 or a HJC R490. It's going to come down to what your personal style is. I mean, especially if you ride a scooter or something, like getting a Shoei Neotec II, it's kind of like just going out and getting like a 1000cc super sports bike and then riding around at 50 kilometers an hour in a residential neighborhood. At some point, it's wasted money. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with some of the cheaper helmets on this list. They are, like I said, the best helmets of 2019 for a reason. And like the HSC Alpha 90, the Shark Evo-One 2 are the best in terms of value. They don't give you the super luxuries of these helmets, but they give you plenty, especially for that dollar-to-dollar value. So at the end of the day, don't be swayed by thinking that a more expensive helmet is the better helmet for you. Be swayed by thinking that the best helmet for you is the helmet that meets your requirements. So these have been our modular helmets for 2019. In our opinion, the best of the best at what they do. And that's being modular and a few other things. So I hope you guys learned something, or I hope that you at least enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or anything like that, just leave them in the comments down below and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Or if you want a more personal and private conversation, then just contact us at championhelmets.com. The details will be in the description as well for that. So remember as well that the best thing you can do is figure out what you need as a personal rider, and then go from there. You know, don't just buy a Neotec II because it's someone told you on a YouTube video that's the best of the best. If the box of carbon is best for you, go for the box of carbon. So yeah, I'm Chris from Champion Helmets. This has been our guide to the best modular helmets of 2019. Hope to see you next time.